Hi everybody, Cod Curator Evan here. We have a special video for you today. First, we're going to be showing you videos from a week ago when we ran engine number 4. Then Paul is going to take you through some of the history of Cod's engines. Thank you for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy the video. What you are seeing right now is Lou, Daryl, Lewis, Ben, and to some degree myself working to get the engines ready to start. Now, as a little warning, there might be some foul language, as we are on a submarine, and in the nautical tradition, we use some salty language.
No, the engine flips out. Make sure it's pushed in.
Yeah, if it wasn't.
And then I heard it was the Vertastics grabbing it, and I'm like, wait a minute, they hate.
I did grab it.
The anticipation.
Killing me. We're doing it now.
Tell me when. Go ahead. What the fuck?
Hello, I'm COD President Paul Ferrace, and today we're in COD's after engine room. And to quote Howard Doggy DeShong, Motor Mac from USS Cod's last 5 patrols, the engines were the heart of the COD. And certainly COD had a very powerful heart. Typical U.S. fleet submarines were powered by 4 main diesel generators and 1 or 2 auxiliaries. Now, being a late Gato, that meant they got rid of the second auxiliary. So our forward engine room has 2 main diesels. The after room here where we are has 2 more mains, but also an auxiliary engine. And this gray stack right here is the exhaust uptake from that. And I don't know if Evan has some B-roll of him jammed in there showing that beautiful GM 268 diesel, but that's our auxiliary. Now our 4 mains, they're V16. They are General Motors engines. Slightly less than half of the submarines built had Fairbanks Morris 9-cylinder 18-piston opposed piston rock crushers or diesels. And you can always get a barroom fight started among the old diesel boat guys as to which one was better, GM or Fairbanks. It's immaterial. They were all very good engines, 2-cycle or 2-stroke diesels, and they don't turn the propellers. This isn't a U-boat. This isn't a British boat. I believe perhaps early in the fleet submarine lineage, perhaps the Cachalot class, they may have had direct drive propulsion. But internal combustion engines don't like speeding up and slowing down. They want to run at their optimum RPM. So let the diesels run at, in this case, 750 RPM, and have them turning 1,100 kilowatt DC generators. That electrical power is fed to electric motors that in turn, coupled through reduction gear, will turn the props. And electric motors don't care if they run fast, slow, or you're changing speed constantly. Give them more juice, they run faster. Give them less power, they'll run slower. So abuse the electric motors, not your diesels. So that is the brilliance of the American composite drive system. Our diesels just make electricity. Now, they can split that power in the cubicle between the motor bus, which of course means the energy is going into the motors for propulsion, and the battery bus simultaneously, meaning some portion of the power is fed to the batteries to recharge them. And although this is probably more germane to a discussion on the cage and the switchboard, you can divvy up the power 50-50, 90-10, whatever the situation demands. So the diesels are, in fact, providing both electricity for battery recharging and main propulsion. Some of our friends have that a little cloudy, but no, the diesels drive the boat through the water by making electricity for the electric motors and charge the batteries. Now the engine rooms, they can be quite hot when you dive after a prolonged period of running. If you're not in a combat situation, the captain can elect to ventilate, so basically share the heat throughout the boat, and he might also run the air conditioning to soften the blow. In the words of Howard DeShong, who was a motor Mac up in the forward room, when in a combat situation they would dive and shut down ventilation and rig for quiet, the engine rooms could get to about 110, 112 degrees. Anything higher than that, I really doubt anybody had a thermometer to really check. I know with some people, every year it gets a little higher. You're going to parboil the crew, and that's not a good thing. Suffice to say, the engine rooms are loud and breezy on the surface, with the air being pulled into these large air intakes back here, which is why you would mount your wet laundry here to dry. The 20-ton hot steel engine is going to radiate enough heat to help dry that. Loud and breezy on the surface, quiet and very hot submerged, unless you're running your ventilation and air conditioning system. Now, Cod's 5 diesels, again, built here in Cleveland. That's an interesting story. At some point, we'll do an in-depth discussion about that. They were built right here in Cleveland on the west side. And perhaps we'll even go visit the factory. It's still there. It's no longer being used to build diesels, but it is quite the campus. It is a humongous building. You might be able to build 747 jumbo jets in that thing. It's so huge. But our engines were built here in Cleveland, and we love that fact. It's a direct connection to the city. But for the longest time, the engines were just basically dead. They were here. They were missing their governors and overspeed trips because in our period as a reserve trainer, the USS Fulton, which is powered by identical diesel generator sets, needed more governors and overspeed trips. And a chief here in the Cleveland Reserve program was being transferred to the Fulton, and he took our precious governors and overspeed trips and shipped them to Fulton. When we found that out many years later and we wanted to get started on restoring the engines, it worked out just nicely that Fulton was coming out of commission. So we put a requisition in, can we have governors and overspeed trips, perhaps the originals from Cod? But there was a little issue with the decommissioning of Fulton. Something about some radioactive water contamination, but let's not talk about that. So we didn't get them back. But we had a secret weapon up our sleeve, Dave Smith, or as we call him, Diesel Dave Smith. I recruited him, so that's my big claim to fame. My role in restoring these engines beyond writing the checks was to recruit Diesel Dave. And Diesel Dave, with the help of guys like Bob Hetman and Darrell Flint and others, began surveying the engines, finding out what's missing, of course, including the governors and overspeed trips. Dave found some pieces parts of governors and overspeed trips, sent them to Woodward Governor in Colorado, and they donated the services to basically completely refurbish these things. But it took several years, and looked dicey for a while. Now, we knew that the reservists had the ability to run number 4 main and the auxiliary. The 4 mains are GM 248s. It's a welded block engine. The auxiliary is a 268. So number 4 and the auxiliary were run and basically very badly abused by the reservists. In fact, in 1972, when the program shut down, the engines were shut down with water in the cooling jackets and just left with the expectation the Cod would be scrapped. Well, it wasn't scrapped, but it did go through a number of heavy freezes in the winter, and so there was some freeze damage. You know, ice expands, and the power of ice is incredible. So there was that damage to work on, and also just cleaning injectors and making sure that the lube oil systems and getting lube oil, getting fuel oil. The fuel oil in our sumps from 1969 was so old they said it had dinosaur toenails floating in it. But we were able to first roll or jack over the auxiliary. And we got that up and running about 2004. And then we got number 4 running relatively soon after that. Again, a lot of dedicated hard work by our crew, and that includes the volunteers. Diesel Dave is a volunteer. But then we got number 4 running, and then it's sort of like a snowball down a mountainside. Dave went through and with the crew all 5 of Cod's engines were returned to workable condition, meaning that missing parts were replaced, injectors cleaned, and everything set so that they can be run. But we don't have $20,000 worth of lube oil in the forward engine sumps. But thanks to Petro Choice Company, they donated a big chunk of money to clean out our lube oil tank below and bring in fresh oil about 8-9 years ago, so that we were able to run these with clean oil, and that really makes all the difference. About 6 years ago, we got number 3 and 4 mains running, and that was something. I don't know if we have how good our archive is. We might be able to pull up some video footage of Cod blowing smoke out both ends. But the reason why I'm sitting here, besides the fact I'm just so wiped out after running around supporting the National Subvet Convention here, I want to point out these water-jacketed cooling uptakes. The Navy, as I said, left water in the system, and we could drain everything, but the water in here began corroding through the inside to the outside. And every time we ran the engines, we noticed that the drip was getting larger, and then became a general shower. And not wanting to damage these priceless, precious engines, we put a moratorium on running them until we could figure out how to fix these things. Now, being 248s, this rather long uptake for the exhaust that goes into the exhaust uptake is a single piece. So to fix this thing would mean that we'd have to tear up the deck that we're standing on, tear out all the piping that feeds into this. So we didn't want to disturb that. I suggested epoxy, and finally, when the 2024 USS National Convention came to Cleveland, I said, well, look, this is an opportunity to really honor our veterans, particularly our submarine veterans. At the end of the memorial program, let's do a running and gunning salute. We've done that before, where we fire our deck gun and we run at least one engine. We've done it with several. So we began investigating. After you don't run something for 5-6 years, you know, you have to go through and survey everything again. And we elected to experiment with epoxy to fix the holes. And apparently, it worked well, because we were able to run number 4. Well done, Daryl and Lewis and Lou and Evan there recording it, and Ben and Dave. It was an all-hands effort. I was very proud when at the completion of the ceremony, when the last prayer was said after the tolling of the boats, Cod's deck gun began firing.
Sergeant of the Guard, you could do. Not until they stop shooting that thing, I'm not. Yeah, I warned everybody.
The engines roared to life. In fact, one of our crewmen who, we kept it secret from the vets, and we kept it secret from some of our shipmates, because one of my crew jumped up and ran over to where I was standing and said, "Paul, something's on fire. I think the boat's on fire." I said, no, that's the engines. She had never seen our engines running. So in here, thanks to the magic of Evan and YouTube, you'll see Cod's engines running. Now, not all the boats can do that. I know Silversides and Cobia run engines. Silversides with their Fairbanks Morris, and Cobia with GM engines as well. But you know, we're a member of that club too, making smoke. And I believe Pampanito can run hers as well, although they have a rather pernicious state EPA that might have a problem with that. But anyway, so there you are. There is Cod's engines, you know, the heart of the boat, and our direct connection to the city of Cleveland. And hopefully you'll hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell, and we'll be back with more engineering and other information in the future. Thanks for joining us.